If you like this guy, stay tuned, because in this video we're going to explain why and how these scenes make him so great. Character setup. The first scene opens with Viserys being crowned king of the Seven Kingdoms and over his cousin Rhaenys. This firmly establishes the main conflict of the whole show, following tradition. A huge theme we see in Targaryen-focused stories is breaking the wheel.
I'm going to break the wheel.
Dany is seemingly always talking about it, and Rhaenyra, our main character in House of the Dragon, is focused on changing the traditions of her house. In the books, Rhaenys isn't even really an option for the throne in the first place. Instead, it's her son Laenor. So it's apparent that in House of the Dragon, they're putting an emphasis on the theme that women can't rule by shoving it right in your face. Thus, Viserys' main conflict is, should he keep the tradition that has helped to keep his house powerful for over 100 years, or honor his wife and daughter by making Rhaenyra heir to the throne? Early in the series, we see Viserys struggling mightily with this idea. At first, he doesn't even consider naming an heir until his son is born, and he's pretty insistent on having one. So insistent that he's willing to have his wife's belly cut open. It's obvious that him having a male heir is important to him because he deeply cared about Emma. He knew that it was risky for her to keep getting pregnant, but this is just another instance of the pressure of tradition negatively affecting our character's choices, because after Emma dies, he abandons this whole idea entirely. Obviously, he ends up naming Rhaenyra his heir, despite everyone around him telling him not to, but this ends up tearing him apart. His friends on the council undermine his decision and actively plot against his will, and his mental state deteriorates rapidly because of the stress of the whole situation. For example, in episode 3, he brings up a dream he had about a son of his being crowned king, probably Aegon. It's what leads to him wanting a son so badly from Emma, and eventually her death, and he hates this about himself. The fact is that he wanted to chase his abstract verification of his rule so harshly that he would kill his wife for it. Naming Rhaenyra heir was an attempt to alleviate Viserys' guilt and regret, but obviously this has a serious number of downsides, which makes his character conflict so interesting. But all this is mainly in the start of the season. Later, Viserys is firm in his choices, but this time, that same choice is now tearing his family apart. After the 10-year time skip is shown to us that the greens and blacks are starting to form. This is all happening under Viserys' nose, and the main fuel for this conflict is that Rhaenyra is heir. If she sits on the Iron Throne, then the Green's main fear is that Westeros is going to revolt, or that she'll just kill Aegon and the rest of Alicent's family. While Viserys has definitely heard the argument that Westeros won't accept a female ruler, he does seem ignorant to the idea that Rhaenyra would just execute all the Greens. In his mind, she would never do such a thing, but to the Greens, it does kind of make sense. Rhaenyra is pretty quick to lie about having sex in the 4th episode, and also lie about her children not being bastards. This deceit kind of justifies to the Greens that Rhaenyra was willing to do anything for her claim. Viserys, being none the wiser, doesn't address this or do anything about the rivalry starting between his family. It's made even more tragic by the fact that he's happily ignorant about the whole situation. Deep down, he probably knows something is wrong, but he's just choosing not to acknowledge the fact that his decisions have led to more family division. This is what I mean by him being a tragic character. He makes his daughter heir to honor his dead wife, who's dead because of him, but in doing this, he actively creates even more division between his family, even starting the whole Dance of the Dragons, which has crippled the Targaryen dynasty for pretty much the rest of its existence. I mean, look at just the personal turmoil Viserys went through just because he named his daughter heir. But I think the next good question to ask about his character was if he was a good ruler or not. The thing with Viserys is that there's a lot of gray. Yeah, sure, he was progressive and named his daughter heir to the throne, but the way he went about it was just terrible. This summarizes his reign as a whole pretty nicely though. Although Westeros was peaceful during the time he ruled, Viserys was quoted to be a pretty weak king.
You're weak, Viserys.
Aemon calls him weak, the council speaks over him multiple times, Corlys essentially calls him weak in front of his brother's face, and he's generally criticized to not take action. For instance, he waits years to take action in the Stepstones, even though Corlys' power is being crippled. So it's not really clear if Viserys was a good ruler or not, even though he had good intentions and the realm was peaceful. But one thing is clear though, is that he's trying. We could see and understand the struggle he's going through to try to be a good ruler. I mean, the throne is literally killing him. You see how much his health deteriorated over the years, yet he never really complains about his role, and when Rhaenyra asks him to dismiss Otto as hand, he does it. Family needs him the most. He organizes a dinner to try and make things right, and he doesn't take milk of the poppy so that he could think rationally. It's extremely easy to relate to someone who's just trying their best at something that still doesn't seem to work out. But while we're on the topic of the family dinner, I think we should dive into his character connections. I think the most interesting connection Viserys has is with his brother Daemon. I covered that in Daemon's video, so check it out if you haven't already. But the next obvious one is Rhaenyra. The relationship is rocky to say the least, and Viserys doesn't really let her talk in court even after naming her heir, and he also doesn't really put any safety precautions in place to secure her role if he were to die suddenly. But remember, the main reason Viserys named her heir was to honor Aemma. This signals to us that Rhaenyra reminds Viserys of his wife, and she's one of the only things he has left of her. Probably the reason why he's so lenient with her. And we've seen Viserys have this problem before with remembering past memories and past family members and having it cloud his judgment, because just like with Daemon, he likes the old memories he has with them and his old family, which is why he's so lenient with them and allows him to come back and even asks him to come back on a couple occasions. I think the main point of Rhaenyra's and Viserys' relationship is to signify to us how much Viserys regrets trying for another child with Aemma. It's shown even when Viserys is dying, he's still thinking about her, and like we went over in episode 3, he has this huge pit of grief inside of him that he's constantly trying to reduce. Most of this is channeled through Rhae. Another interesting relationship Viserys has is with Otto. I don't see many people talking about it, but it's still intriguing nonetheless. After the strong assassination in Harrenhal, we see Otto actually being brought back as the Hand off screen. But why would Viserys want Otto back? He could literally just name anyone else Hand if he wanted to. It's likely that Alicent greatly influenced Viserys to bring Otto back, which signals the power dynamics in the relationship. And it's pretty obvious that this was the plan for Otto the whole time. Obviously, he probably didn't want to leave King's Landing in the first place, but you can't say his manipulation of Viserys by using his daughter didn't work. And this is also where we get into the greatness of Otto's character. Sending his daughter to manipulate Viserys seems pretty wrong to do, along with how he plans against him after his death. There's a reason for all this. Otto wants to benefit the realm. The reason why he advocates for Aegon so much is so Westeros doesn't revolt into chaos. Is it moral to do bad things to benefit the overall population? Or even better, does your intentions change the morality of an action? In this way, Otto is fundamentally the opposite of Viserys. Viserys' actions are mostly fueled by his personal desires or just to right his wrongs, while Otto is just doing what he sees as what's best for the people, although it may be warped and distorted. You can even argue that Otto sending Alicent to Viserys was a ploy to make him have another child. What makes the relationship even more tragic is that Otto seemed to actually care about Viserys and vice versa. But now that we've gotten key characters out of the way, let's move on and discuss how many layers Viserys has as a character. Layers. So at the surface, we have a benevolent king who is able to avoid war and treat all his subjects kindly. Without looking any deeper, we see that Viserys seems to be a pretty good guy, but his kindness is a double-edged sword. While yes, the realm has been peaceful under his rule, that same kindness is what allowed the Dance of the Dragons to happen in the first place. Yes, Viserys listens to his court and he's progressive, but this is why the court discusses plans behind his back. So while yes, we want to empathize with Viserys, is he really a good guy? I mean, being a people pleaser isn't really considered a virtue. Nonetheless, I believe that Viserys' shortcomings is just proof that the king is unforgiving. Kind-hearted men can't really sit the throne. They get taken advantage of and they're too slow to action. You somewhat get the sense that Viserys doesn't even want the burden in the first place. Even in his first scene when he's announced king, he doesn't seem all that happy, and it's symbolized through all the cuts he gets on the throne that the power isn't doing him any favors. Viserys even seems like someone of an oddball in regards to his own family. He says that the control over dragons is just an illusion. Most Targaryens don't really think this way, and while what he says may be true, his family sure doesn't seem to think the same. Also, Viserys doesn't ride dragons. After Balerion died, Viserys didn't bond with another dragon. And while yes, it's never been shown that Targaryen has bonded with multiple dragons, it seems more like Viserys just didn't even try to bond with another one. I mean, why wouldn't he at least try? Balerion died when Viserys was relatively young, but that's just speculation. Point is, Viserys is cut from a different cloth, for better or for worse. He doesn't enjoy power and holds a completely different ideology towards dragons, at least in the show. No other Targaryens act like this, and this semi-odd behavior can help explain the results of his rule. A rule that was a peaceful one, but still somehow managed to spawn one of the most damaging conflicts, if not the most damaging, to all of House Targaryen. But like many other characters and things in Game of Thrones, the situation is a great one. It'd be foolish to say that Viserys had a bad reign or that he was a bad man, so we'll just have to speculate and wonder just what type of man Viserys Targaryen really was. If you liked this video, then subscribe. I plan on making a video per week, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep up with uploads. Okay, see ya.